Hey guys, Matt here. Welcome to Learn to Discern. Today we're going to be talking about the prophetic. Many people today will say if you got a prophetic word and it did not come to pass, one of the reasons could be because you didn't have enough faith. You didn't believe in the prophecy enough. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at a few scriptural examples of people receiving true prophetic words from the Lord, them not having belief, and yet those prophetic words come true in spite of their lack of belief. But before we get to this teaching, if you guys want to help promote Christian content here on YouTube, please go ahead and take a second now to subscribe to my channel, and thank you in advance. Okay guys, so we're going to look at our three passages that show prophetic words or messages from God coming true in spite of unbelief amongst the people who are actually receiving the message. And so our first one is 2 Kings chapter 4. This is the story with Elisha and the Shunammite woman. So starting in verse 11. One day he came there and he turned into the chamber and rested there. And he, that's speaking of Elisha, said to Gehazi his servant, "Call this Shunammite." When he had called her, she stood before him. And he said to him, "Say now to her, see, you have taken all this trouble for us. What is to be done for you? Would you have a word spoken on your behalf to the king or to the commander of the army?" She answered, "I dwell among my own people." And he said, "What then is to be done for her?" Gehazi answered, "Well, she has no son, and her husband is old." He said, "Call her." And when he had called her, she stood in the doorway. And he said, "At this season, about this time next year, you shall embrace a son." And she said, "No, my lord, O man of God, do not lie to your servant." But the woman conceived, and she bore a son about that time the following spring, as Elisha had said to her. Okay, guys, it's really straightforward. The prophetic word is here in verse 16. And he said, "At this season, about this time next year, you shall embrace a son." That is the prophetic word. How does the woman respond? With great faith? Not even close. She said, "No, my lord, O man of God, do not lie to your servant." She's saying, "You're lying to me. Don't lie to me." She does not believe at all that this is going to come true, which is why verse 17 starts with the word "but." In spite of the fact that the woman did not believe this word, the woman conceived, and she bore a son about that time the following spring, as Elisha had said to her. Because it was a true prophetic word, it came to pass in spite of her unbelief. All right, our next one is Luke chapter 1. This is the story of Zechariah. This is the father of John the Baptist, and he receives a message from an angel. So I don't know if you call it a prophetic word coming from an angel, but he's receiving a message from God. And we're going to say he doesn't necessarily believe the message, and in fact, he's punished for it, but it's still going to come to pass. And this is Luke 1, starting in verse 18. And Zechariah said to the angel, "How shall I know this?" So speaking of his wife conceiving with John the Baptist. "For I am an old man, and my wife is advanced in years." And the angel answered him, "I am Gabriel. I stand in the presence of God, and I was sent to speak to you and to bring you this good news. And behold, you will be silent and unable to speak until the day that these things take place, because you did not believe my words, which will be fulfilled in their time." So Zechariah is punished for his unbelief. He's not able to speak until, if you remember, John is born and they ask him, "What are we going to call the baby?" And he writes out John. It says then his mouth opened up and he was able to speak. But it was because he did not believe the words. He didn't believe Gabriel's words. But Gabriel said, "My words will be fulfilled in their time." Your lack of belief in my words is not going to keep my words from coming to pass, because they came from God. He will bring them about. And my last example is just one to think through. If you are somebody who you've heard that excuse, or you've maybe believed it at some point, yeah, I gave you a prophetic word, but if you don't mix it with your belief, it won't come true. I was just thinking about all of the prophetic words that were given by Jesus and how people did not believe a lot of his prophetic words, yet they continued to keep coming true in spite of the fact that people did not believe in them. And here is just one example of that. John chapter 2, starting in verse 18. "So the Jews said to him, 'What sign do you show us for doing these things?' Jesus answered them, 'Destroy this temple. In 3 days I will raise it up.' The Jews then said, 'It has taken 46 years to build this temple, and you will raise it up in 3 days?' But he was speaking about the temple of his body. When therefore he was raised from the dead, his disciples remembered that he had said this, and they believed the scripture and the word that Jesus had spoken. So this is Jesus's prophetic statement. Destroy this temple, speaking of his body. In 3 days, I will raise it up. The people express complete disbelief in that statement. It took us 46 years, so they don't understand the prophetic word, but they don't believe what he is saying. I mean, think about when Jesus is mocked in his ministry for some of the things that he is saying. People are mocking him at the end of his life. People are spitting on him and taunting him, often because they don't believe the prophecies that he made about himself. Did that keep Jesus from rising 3 days later? Well, people didn't believe his prophetic word, so he just couldn't come up out of the grave. Nope. It's a true prophetic word. It's coming from God. It will come to pass. And so, friends, I hope you see that there is no scriptural support for this idea that you can have a prophetic word, but the reason that it didn't come true is because you didn't have enough faith. If a prophetic word did not come true, it's because the person who told you that word is a false prophet. And I'm not saying that to be mean. I just hope that helps you to maybe cope with things. Oh, that's why that word didn't come true. It wasn't because God let me down. It's not because I did something wrong. It's because that person gave me a false prophecy. A false prophecy comes from a false prophet. And I hope that will give you peace as you follow the Lord. All right, guys, I hope this teaching today was helpful to you. If it was and you want to get content like this out to more people, please make sure you subscribe to my channel. Also, please remember that you can partner together with me financially in ministry, as I have profiles on both Ko-fi and Patreon. I'll put links to both of them down below in the description. You can give a one-time gift or sign up for monthly recurring donations. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, God bless.